Merry Christmas, everybody. Yes, today is Christmas Day, and today I'm falling behind because I should have done this yesterday, but there was no time. Things happened. So today I'm going to make a very, very special dessert for my son because he requested it. It happens to be my favorite, but let me clarify that. So I've had this dessert at many, many restaurants, and over the years, it's been disappointing at best, except for a few restaurants who did it really, really well. But this particular rendition of it, because there's no real true, honest-to-God way to know the actual original rendition of this. But this rendition of it is my favorite, and in my opinion, the best I've ever had. So what you see here is a Chocolatier magazine from 1994. And what I'm going to do on my blog is I'm going to actually scan the pages of this and put them out there for you to read for yourself. But I'm making tiramisu. Now, tiramisu at its base is ladyfingers dipped in espresso covered with mascarpone. And if you do that, the bare minimum, it's going to be mediocre or even horrific. This particular recipe is incredible because we make our own ladyfingers. Actually, we make a savardi. And that's what you see here. I've got all my ingredients ready for step one, which is to make the ladyfingers. Then we dip them in an espresso syrup that's got some liquor in it. And then, instead of just using mascarpone, we use mascarpone with a Zabaione together with some rum. It's incredible, okay? And I'm going to take you through it step by step, and I'm going to post all of the steps. I'm going to copy them out of this magazine and put them in regular text on the page. And then I'm also going to, like I said, scan the pages from the magazine and put them out there so you can read it for yourself. Apparently, the very first tiramisu was created in Venice, Italy. I don't know when. 3 different renditions of it arrived in Manhattan all around the same time. Now remember, this magazine is from 1994. The first time I ever had tiramisu was at a crappy little Italian bistro up in New Haven, Connecticut, and it was okay, right? Nothing to write home about. But these three restaurants in Manhattan all had what they called authentic, but they were all different. So who's telling the truth? Which one is the authentic? Bottom line is, it doesn't matter, right? As long as it's delicious, who cares? Now, this particular rendition that's in this magazine is, like I said, by far my favorite. And I think if you try this, it's going to be yours too. So let's get to it, shall we? 4 eggs separated. So yolks are going to go in a regular bowl. Whites are going to go in the copper bowl. Why the copper bowl? Well, I could just whip those whites in a regular bowl. They'll be fine. But when you do it in the copper bowl, there's a chemical reaction where ions from the copper bind with the albumin in the egg, and it makes a fluffier, stiffer white. Now, is there a real big difference? Probably not noticeable, but we're going to do that. So I've got my yolks separated. I've got my whites separated. I've got a third of a cup and a third of a cup of granulated sugar. I've got my vanilla. So I'm going to combine a third of a cup of sugar with 4 yolks and the vanilla. And we're just going to whisk this until it's frothy. Not frothy, pale yellow. Right? So you see how it doesn't look like anything yet. But now, one other thing that I want to mention here is that I've been trying to not use a mixer if I don't need to. Actually, since I'm a lefty, what if we do it this way? Right? Because then, right, you'll be able to see better what's happening in there. Now, I should also mention that my oven has been preheating at 375, and it's ready. So that looks good to me. I'm going to hold on to that for a second. And now we're going to work on the whites. And you're going to see how the copper reacts, right? We talked about the copper ions binding with the albumin, right? Not long, doesn't take long at all. Right, look, see how I've got soft peaks? I want stiff peaks, but at this point is when I'm going to introduce my sugar. Now, if I was using a mixer, I can introduce the sugar while it's mixing, but that's okay. So that's another third. So that's 2/3 of a cup of sugar. 1/3 in the yolks, 1/3 in the whites. Wow, look at that. So there's your basic meringue right there, right? We just bake that at a low temperature and make a, look at that. Look at how nice. I'm going to give it a little bit more. I don't want to overbeat it. But look at that, right? See, it's not falling out. I think that's it. And introduce them to my yolks. Right? See it? I'm just going to blend it lightly. And what that's going to help is it's going to thin out the yolks a bit so that it's easier to fold in the rest of the whites. Because I do not want to use it every day. I want to use it only for this type of special application. See how I'm folding those whites in? Right, little by little. We'll take some more white. And this is basically the way you would do a genoise, right? Okay. I'm gonna take the rest of those whites now. Bring them in. I want to keep it as airy as possible. Okay, and now I need to sift in this flour. Okay, so I got just a regular strainer. I'm going to throw the flour, sift it in. I'm going to fold it gently. And I'm going to get it all incorporated, don't worry. Okay, so all the flour is in. That's 3/4 of a cup of flour. And you see how I'm just gently folding that together. And then we're going to pop this into a pastry bag and pipe out our ladyfingers. Put that in. Okay. And now, let's get some of this batter into the pastry bag. Yeah, I imagine there are a lot of restaurants that they're just going to buy some Stella d'Oro ladyfingers, soak them in some espresso, and then cover them with a little mascarpone and call that tiramisu. And I will tell you, they give tiramisu a bad name. Like if that's the first time you ever had it, of course you're never going to want it again. But once you've had it this way, I promise you, you'll always want it. Okay, so I'm just going to pipe. little fingers. It's funny, if you look at my food blog, one of the pictures is these lady fingers just dusted with some powdered sugar. And you're going to see how these things bake so nicely. Oh, that one's touching. That's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, I could make them longer. I like them like this. I remember doing this once where I spun out a funnel and made like a solid disc and attempted to make like a cake. The problem with doing that is you need a lot of setting time, because the thing would have to, the mascarpone Zabaione would have to solidify a bit. Okay, so there's my first batch. I'm going to do another sheet. In the meantime, let's put a little bit of powdered sugar into, and I'm just going to dust them lightly. And then this batch is going in the oven. I'll set a timer. I got a little chunk there, hold on. Okay, so that's just a little bit of confectioner's sugar on top. Okay, let's pop these in the oven. So anyhow, it originated in Venice, and then 3 different restaurants in Manhattan were serving it, but they were all different. So then the question of authenticity comes into play. But like I said, who cares, right? As long as it's delicious, who cares? And I read somewhere in that same article that I think it was the Ritz-Carlton actually did it with polenta, which is kind of interesting. I wish I would have had an opportunity to try that one. But we'll see. Like I said, once you've tried it this way, there are very few places you'll go that'll make it as good as, or even better than this. And honestly, I've never had it better than this. Okay, so this is them in the oven as they're puffing. I'm going to turn that around. Okay, so I've got a stock pot here, and I've got my eggs and sugar mixture with the rum, and I'm going to just start whisking. And the bottom of the bowl is touching the hot water in the bottom, and that's going to raise the temperature of my egg yolks, which will, essentially cook them. So inside here I've got ice water. I'm going to just put that on top, get my whisk, and let's just whisk it. Now what's nice about this is the copper bowl is a very good conductor of heat and cold, right? It's a good thermal conductor. So we should bring this temperature down pretty quickly. Okay, it is nearly time to assemble this whole thing. So here's my cooled Zabaione. Here's my mascarpone, right? You see it? And I gently whipped it with some rum. It's soft. And now what I'm going to do is take a little bit of my Zabaione, pop it in there, and just stir it up, just so that I can change the consistency. Right? So you see how that's changing? And then I'm going to fold the rest in, and then we're going to assemble the tiramisu. Now look at how nicely that's changed the texture of the mascarpone already. Okay, so now I'm going to put the rest of the Zabaione in here and just fold it together. And of course I'm doing it where you can't see what I'm doing, and I don't have the other camera set up, but you get the idea. All right, let me put this in the sink and get my fingers unstickified. Okay, so now I'm just going to fold it together the way you would fold a mousse or anything else. Just folding it all together, right? Little by little. So I don't want to deflate the Zabaione too much. I mean, it's going to deflate a little bit. This is my new Christmas gift. This little pan. And I'm going to layer. Before I do that, let's take that espresso and put it in this bowl so that it's easier to use. Okay, so there it is. That's the espresso with the Kahlua and the rum and the sugar. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip these in and just place them in the bottom of the dish, just like that. Okay? I'm going to do a layer of cookies. I don't want them soaking too much, but I do want to get them coated. Okay. So now I'll make sure we get a picture of that. So now I'm going to put in a layer of the mascarpone Zabaione. Gonna put some in. I'll spread it out over the top. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm just going to spread it. We'll get another picture. Okay, and now we're going to do another layer of cookies, right? So I'm just going to dip and place it. Dip and place it. Dip. You get the idea. It looks like, yeah, I've got just enough. Sweet. Look, I only have a little bit of espresso left, huh? And that was 8 ounces of espresso. Okay. Now we're going to put the rest of the Zabaione on top. Mascarpone Zabaione. Going to put all of it on there. I thought about doing this in a deeper, narrower vessel, and then making like 3 or 4 layers. But the recipe calls it out this way. And, you know, the consensus in the house was that it might not be as good because it might be more messy and harder to eat and manage. I don't know. One day I think I might want to try doing like a 4-layer tiramisu. But for right now, I just want to make sure that everything is completely covered. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make it, I don't know if I should even try to make it fancy, honestly. I was going to try to use a doily and put a pattern on top, but honestly, I'm not that artistic. So maybe I'm not even going to try. And I'm just going to sprinkle it on the top, just like that. Yeah, I was going to try to use a doily on top and put a nice pattern, but I'm just not that talented, honestly. And I think this is fine, right? It's just covered with cocoa. And then the beauty of this new dish, this new casserole that I have is it's got a lid. So now I can put this in the fridge without, because this has to chill for about 2 hours before we serve it. Okay, here it is. After a few hours of chilling, there is the tiramisu. Let's see here. I'm going to go like that. And like that. Well, the first one is always the hardest one to get out. Let's see here. All right. Oh, not bad. Okay. Let's see about getting a shot of that from the side. You know what? I'll do it on the second one. All right. I'm going to cut another one here. And here. This will be easier to grab, right? Let's see. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at that, shall we? Okay, see the nice layers of the lady fingers in there? And then, of course, the mascarpone Zabaione with the cocoa powder on top. Looks beautiful, huh? We're going to give it a taste shortly. All right, so there it is, the look from the side, and I'm going to cut myself a little bite and give it a taste. Man, oh man, that is by far the best tiramisu I've ever had. And it's from, oh man, it's from Chocolatier Magazine, 1994.